Hi, my name is Jim Naris, and I want to welcome you to Marketing Performance Assessment. I'm coming to you from our offices at the Charlotte Wake Forest University Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Unlike the other faculty members, I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is going to be the video syllabus for the course. A number of students have asked me if I could summarize the topics, so this way you have a choice of reading the hard copy syllabus or watching the video. The video will be made available on Sakai, so you can watch this through the semester. Now, what we're going to cover in today's discussion are two basic topics. First of all, I'm going to go over what we're going to cover during the course. And then secondly, most of you are probably most interested in this, I'm going to talk about what your deliverables are and what my expectations are of you relative to the course. So let's start off by talking about the topics that we're going to cover. Marketing Performance Assessment has been offered at Wake Forest now for 4 years. And the reason that we have this course is actually based on the urging of corporate recruiters. We had a number of these recruiters that went to our placement people and said, you know, your MBA graduates don't have a good feel for measuring marketing performance. And most importantly, they don't have a good grasp of the financial tools that they need to know as marketers. So basically, I put together this course to rectify some of the issues that these recruiters had raised. All right, now a good place to start is with this quote that comes from Sir William Heskett Lever. He was the founder of Unilever, which is a global consumer packaged goods dynamo. You probably know them in the United States as Lever Brothers. And he had this celebrated quotation that you can find at virtually the beginning of most marketing textbooks. And basically it's a lament that he had that basically goes as follows. Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is that I don't know which half. Now those of us that are in marketing for many years, we use this as an excuse for not being able to demonstrate what it is that we actually accomplished. You know, we would say things like, well, you can't measure it, it's awareness, and it's recall, and it's brand equity, and it's all these really soft, warm, and fuzzy measures, but please give us a lot of money. Well, due to the recent economic downturn, companies are a little bit more conservative, and they require justification of all expenditures. So if you were to walk in and say, I don't know which half of my funds are wasted and not, the senior boss would look at you and say, right here, I'm slashing your budget by 50%. You figure out which half is wasted. So we don't have the luxury of laughing off our performance. All right, now, I'm going to have 5 general course topics or sections plus the summary, which is going to be 6. And let's go through each one of those. All right, we're going to start with a brief introduction, which I call Making Marketing Accountable. And basically we're going to look at what it is that performance is in the context of marketing, how we measure it, and more importantly, how do we drive strategy and tactics off of metrics. All right, the second thing that we're going to look at is trying to link marketing performance to financial measures. And the reason that that's important is that whether we like it or not, most corporations today are run by the finance folks, and the finance folks want everything translated into financial measures. So what we're going to look at is how the consequences of marketing activities translate into financial metrics. All right, the next topic we're going to look at is assembling key performance indicators or KPIs. You know, the problem you're going to face is the opposite of what many people think. In fact, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of metrics. Obviously, you don't need 1,000 metrics. What you want to be able to do is to boil it down to a handful, which give you a nice snapshot, accurate view of how your marketing activities are doing. So we'll talk about how we sort through all of these metrics and figure out which ones are the most important. All right, now once you assemble your metrics, you want to put them together in the form of a balanced scorecard, and then most importantly, you want to use them for planning and control purposes. So the metrics become the alpha and the omega of your efforts, meaning what? Well, I start with metrics in the form of objectives. I translate those metrics into marketing strategies, tactics, and programs, and then I come back at the end and I use those metrics to assess whether or not I've been successful with my marketing tools. So again, we're going to tie them all together. And the last topic we'll spend a little bit of time on is making the business case. Now that's a term that's a buzzword which many people don't quite understand, and we're going to talk about how you actually do this, and we're going to give you an opportunity to give a presentation of the Fashion Channel case study. Now why is that important? Because and many of you will be surprised to know that you're going to have to go out and get funds, whether it is from senior management or venture capitalists, to initiate your marketing activities. So you need to be schooled in how to make the business case. All right, now, as far as course deliverables, there's 5 things, and normally I base your grade on 100 points. And basically the 5 are as follows. You're going to have 4 quizzes, which are worth 60 points, 15 points apiece. Individual class discussion, which is worth 9 points. Group discussions and exercises. We're going to do some 21 group exercises during the course. You're going to do the business case presentation, making the business case at the end, which is worth 5 points. And then we're going to do a Web 3.0 group presentation at the end, where you look at one of 4 Web 3.0 media. That's worth 5 points. So let's go into each one of them in a little bit more detail. If you were to take those 5 items, they fall into either individual activities or into group activities. So let's just sort of run through each one of them quickly. As I just mentioned, there's going to be 4 quizzes, each one 15 points, which totals 60 points. They'll come roughly every 3 weeks. Each one of the quizzes will cover the material that we just covered during those 3 weeks, so it's not going to be a cumulative exam. The material for the quizzes will come from the exercises first and foremost, and the handouts. So when it's time to study, make sure you go over the exercises, make sure that you go over the handouts. Now, one of the things I've done the last couple years at a student's recommendation is that when you come to class to take the quiz, and you can do this on your laptop, I will email a spreadsheet containing the quiz to you, and you can download a copy of the quiz, complete the quiz in the spreadsheet, and then email it back to me. And the reason I do that is that, I had a number of students say, the #1 reason that they make mistakes on the quiz is that they make a transpositional typographical error where they copy the number incorrectly. So if I send you the spreadsheet, you'll have the numbers correct, so that will eliminate that problem. So again, 4 quizzes. We'll spend an entire class period on the quiz, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes. The quiz normally takes half an hour to 45 minutes, but in my experience there are some students that need the entire hour and 15 minutes. All right, the second responsibility that you have is on the individual level. On the individual level is class discussion. I expect each and every one of you to participate in class discussion. I tell people that if you were at Harvard Business School in their MBA program, each course requires or grades students 50% on class participation. They have a grader in the front that assesses everyone's participation. It's interesting, when you walk into one of their classes, immediately everyone's hands go up in the air because they want to make the board, as they say at Harvard. Now, why is class discussion important? Well, if you're going to be in marketing or sales, you're going to be talking. You're going to have to give presentations, you're going to have to talk to customers, you're going to have to talk to suppliers, you're going to have to talk to advertising agencies. So it's important that you develop a polished presentation style as well as the ability to think on your feet. So I think class discussion is important. All right, next, group assignments. There are, I think, 22 students registered for this class, so we'll divide up into 4 groups of 5 or 6 individuals, and we'll do a series of group tasks. All right, first and foremost will be our group exercises. Now, the way we'll set up class is that I'll come in and I'll pose some questions, talk about a particular technique, And then I'll give each one of the groups an exercise. Some of these are qualitative, some of these are quantitative, and I'll give you a half an hour to complete them. Now some of them are easy, some of them are more difficult, and what I'll have you do is I'll have you do them during class. In some cases it'll require a lot of work, so I'll have you turn it in at the beginning of the next class. In each case, I'll have at least one group member summarize what your findings are. So 21 exercises. Now the exercises are important once again because they're going to be the basis of the quizzes. So you need to participate in the exercises. All right, next we're going to do making the business case presentation. And basically what I'm going to have you do is revisit the Fashion Channel case, which I believe you did in Kenny Herp's class last year. And what I'm going to have you do is to make the business case for which of the 4 alternatives you prefer. Now if you remember that case, the protagonist, the woman who's Vice President of Marketing, has to make a presentation to senior management in which she requests some $17 million in funding. So your job is to make a presentation based on your recommendation and obtain $17 million from senior management. So again, it's an opportunity to make the business case. All right, the last thing that you're going to do for a group presentation is what I call a Web 3.0 media presentation. And I'm going to have each one of the groups pick one of these 4 popular social media: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Now, what do I mean by Web 3.0? Well, they argue that there's been 3 levels of evolution in the web. Web 1.0 were static websites where companies and individuals would put a website out there that you could visit. Web 2.0 is based on search. Google pioneered this, where the customer searches for the supplier, which sort of reverses the roles. Web 3.0 is social networking, where you have two-way communication. So the customer talks to the supplier talks to the customer, customers talk to each other, and so on down the line. So I'm going to have you look at one of the 4 most popular Web 3.0 media: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I'm going to have each group give a presentation on this, and I want you to do or look at 3 areas. The first of which is I want you to tell me how you use each one of these social media for marketing purposes. So what good is Facebook if I'm running a marketing campaign? The second thing I want you to do in your presentation is to spend some time talking about how do I measure the performance of Facebook marketing efforts. So did I get my money's worth out of the advertising that I spent on Facebook? And then the third thing that I want you to do is I want you to tell me who are the consultants, the experts that I can go to if I have a question relative to marketing via Facebook or one of these other 3. Now during class, in addition to the presentation, I want you to distribute a briefing sheet to each student in class, and this will be done on a group basis. And on that briefing sheet, number 1, I want you to briefly summarize what the again, the key marketing contributions of each one of these 4 things are. That is the one that you pick. Secondly, how do you, what were the 5 most important takeaway points? And third, what references are out there? What sources of information can I go to? So again, 3 aspects on the briefing sheet. Number 1, what is the topic and how do I use it for marketing? What were the 5 takeaway points from your presentation? And then thirdly, what are sources of information that I can go to if I want to learn more about this particular topical area? All right, now with the group assignments, I'm going to have peer evaluations at the end of the semester. And I do that because every year I get complaints from 1 or 2 students saying, I did all the group work and these other guys are slackers and they're getting a good grade and they didn't do any work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you evaluate every member in your group and determine whether or not they made an equitable contribution. If they failed to contribute to the group, then I will basically deduct points from their grade total. Now hopefully everyone will work together and we won't have any problems. If you do have a problem during the semester, please come to me as soon as possible. All right, now as far as how do I grade, Well, there's 100 points, and obviously you expect a normal curve. Now, at Wake Forest University, for some reason, a B+ is considered an average grade. So on my ideal scale, a B+ will be between 85 and 90 points. The mean should ideally be 87. A-, 90 to 95, A, 95 or higher. B is 80 to 85, B- is 75 to 80, and anything less than 75 is considered a C. All right, now, fortunately or unfortunately, it's rare that the class mean turns out to be 87. Usually it's down here somewhere. So I want to point out that I will curve the grades. Now, you've heard that term before, and what that means is that if the mean is here, I'll add on enough points so that the mean gets raised to 87. As I said, this is my ideal. Normally I end up curving the grades. Now, there are a number of resources that you have available that will help you digest the material for this course. And let's go through these. All right, the first is my Sakai folder. So you should have access to Sakai. If you don't, talk to someone in the IT department and make sure that you have access to Sakai. When you go to my Sakai folder for Marketing Performance Assessment, you will see that I have all of the materials for the course except for the textbook. So all the exercises, quizzes, videos, and so on are on my Sakai folder, so you have access to them 24/7. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put some videos on there as well that you can access as well. So your first line or source of information is my Sakai folder. All right, the second thing that you want to get a copy of is the textbook for the course, which is called Marketing Metrics. And you get this at the bookstore, Amazon.com, you can rent it, borrow it, whatever. Now, this is an interesting book in that it's more of a dictionary/research study. And what do I mean by this? Well, the marketing faculty at the Wharton Business School at the University of Pennsylvania every couple of years does a survey of Fortune 500 companies. And basically what they do is they ask them, what are your key marketing metrics? They tabulate those results and they put them into a book. So in the book you have basically the 50 top marketing metrics used by the top Fortune 500 companies. Now, the problem with this book is that it's more of a dictionary, so that you have these 50 metrics that are basically grouped by the 4 Ps, product, price, promotion, and place. They give you a definition of the metric, how it's calculated, and then they give you an example. The problem is they don't really tell you should you be using this metric, and they don't give you any mechanism for assembling them into a scorecard. So we're going to have to talk about that during the class and give you some examples of how I do that. But anyway, this is a good reference book that you should keep for your bookshelf. All right, the second thing that I'm going to give out the first day of class is a workbook that's going to look something like this. It's over 100 pages. And basically what the workbook contains is the materials for the course, including the exercises and the group discussion questions and so on and so forth. Now, what do we have in the workbook? Well, first of all, there's a copy of the syllabus. There's the 21 exercises that we're going to do. I give you a handful of group discussion questions for our 7 case studies and the 17 articles. The 33 handouts I'll use, and then the thing that I added this year is links to 84 YouTube videos. So again, the handbook will be a nice source of information for you. Now, occasionally students will come to me and say, Jim, can you recommend some additional books to read? And the answer is yes. So if you go to the last page of the syllabus in hard copy form, you'll see that I list 15 books that relate to the topics that we're going to cover. And again, the reason I'm doing this is that I want you to have access to information that you need to know as a manager, and unfortunately it's not covered in the textbook for the class. So again, there's a listing of 15 books that you might consider buying and reading. Now, one of the things that I've added to you for you this year is YouTube videos. So what I've done is I've gone through YouTube and I've identified some 84 videos that relate to the topics we're going to cover. Now, fortunately, most of these videos are in the range of 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll see on my list that I specify how long each one of them are, so that you can access these 24/7 via my Sakai folder. So all you have to do is control-click on the link and view the video, so you can access that whenever you want. It's optional, which means that I'm giving you the information. If you want to do it, then take a look at them. Again, 3 to 5 minutes is hardly a lot of time to spend on them. Now, unfortunately, the first one is 49 minutes, and this is a webinar that was put on by the American Marketing Association. And you should be familiar with the AMA, first of all, because that's the premier marketing organization. There's something like 40,000 members, so you should be aware of them, if not a member, for networking purposes. And secondly, what you'll see is that that video covers most of the topics that we're going to cover during the course, as well as some of the topics that John Pinder covers in business analytics. So that you're going to get the strategic view, which we're going to focus in on, and then you're going to get the tactical view with topics that John Pinder covered. So again, it's again 49 minutes, which is long, but it basically covers the realm of things that we're going to address. And each week I'll go over what the videos are. Now, I want to point out that first of all, these videos are free. Most of them are put on by consulting companies. And the advantages of looking at them are, first of all, they're brief to the point. You should know this material. Secondly, you'll get to see some of the authors that we're going to talk about during the semester. So Robert Kaplan developed the balanced scorecard, and you'll get to see Robert Kaplan talk about the balanced scorecard. You'll see Kevin Keller talk about brand equity, and so on. And one of the reasons that I think it's worth spending some time looking at these videos is, when you get out there working in marketing, you'll probably have to put together a video for your company and your product. So by going through these, you'll get a view of what is potentially possible. Now, I want to point out in advance that most of these are done by consulting companies, and they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They're looking to sell something. So some of these have advertisements at the beginning, which you can click through, and then others at the end, they tell you, the standard. If you want to learn more about the topic, contact us, and we'll be happy to do a consulting project for you. So please realize that that's there. But again, you want to be up on what's going on in marketing. These videos are a nice, quick and dirty way of doing it. All right, now, Vicki Wapham. Please be familiar with her. She's my administrative assistant. She's on the 3rd floor of the Worrell building. I think the room technically is 3113, but it's the secretarial suite that looks out on the street. There's her phone number. There's her email address. If you lose your workbook, if you need materials, if you want to contact me, by all means go up and talk to Vicki. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm based out of Charlotte, so there's my Charlotte telephone number, and most importantly, my email address. I spend a lot of time driving back and forth to Winston-Salem, so I'll be on the road a lot, so probably the best way to reach me is by email. And last but not least in terms of importance is, remember, if you need more detailed information, it's on the syllabus. So if you get the hard copy of the syllabus, you'll see all the details that you would ever want. So I want to thank you for taking this time to listen to me go over the points of the syllabus, and I'll see you in class in a couple of days. Thank you very much.